This is part 2 of the counters challenge. When we last left off, we were trying to create this 3 steps, and then for mobile it'll stack. We got as far as the counters. We learned a lot about counters. First, how to use them, and then some of the implications of using them, especially around accessibility and making it easier for us. So in this video, we're going to continue on. We're going to add this gray background here, and then we're going to get our grid going, okay? So to start off, let's get that grid in place. We can do that right away just doing this. I'm going to use display flex. I'm going to make sure that it can wrap, and that ensures that if we get small enough, it starts to wrap. We'll work on that a little bit. There's also a gap in here I have a bar that sets this of gap like this, so that there's a little space in here. Now, trying to get this to space out, what we want to do is we want to attack those LIs, okay? We've set the grid on the ordered list, so we really want to tackle this LI. I did not add a class, so I'm just going to grab it directly as LI. And from here, I can add a border color, okay? Or a border at all. And we can see that right there. They aren't quite going the way that we want, and that's because we're missing the grow aspect of flex. So if we go flex grow and we set it to 1, it will do that. Again, signaling intent to the browser, telling the browser how we want this to work. We want these to start even. So we need to say, wherever it is, I would really like it to start at a certain point, and then from there, grow evenly. And we do that with flex basis. Now, flex basis, it can be any number smaller than about 33% minus the gap, okay? So 1% would work, but signaling intent, let's set it to 30 so that it is closer to what we're trying to do here, okay? From here, we want to start moving things around. So under step, we should probably add our centering, okay? So text align center. You'll notice that it does not center the marker, and that is because the marker is display grid. Any block level element doesn't respect text align, so we have to move it around with margin. We can just set it to auto, and it sorts itself out, okay? While we're here, let's add a little bit of space to this text. So down in here, dot step, and it is the span, right? The span right here. So a little bit of space would be padding, because it's a span. We want that to be 1.5 rem and 1 rem, which it's not going to see. And the reason it's not going to see it, because it's an inline element. So let's go display block just to make sure that it plays nice, and it does. Going back to the text, we need the text to be bigger, chunkier, all of the above. We're just going to grab this from here, copy it, paste it right up underneath this text align center, and it is there, okay? Now, it's very big and it's very not visible. That's because of this background color, or because of this text color, sorry. So for the moment, we'll just comment that out so we can see what we're doing. From here, it's not counter text, it is text size. Please say yes. That is down here, text size. Brilliant, okay? So again, we can turn this on and off. We don't really need to. In fact, we have some duplication here now with font weight and color. Also being down here, if we get rid of these, it still works. Again, color goes away because we turned that off, but it still works because of the cascade. We're using the cascade in our favor. So that is good, okay? At this point, we should start adding this box. And there are a few ways to do that. One of the quickest would be to use linear gradient. We can do that right up here on the step. So as a background image, we can go and get linear gradient just like this. And again, we have to signal intent by telling it what direction to go in, like this. And then our colors, we're going to go transparent because we want the background to show through. And our final color will be that variable, whatever it is, which is card color, just like that. So now we have some interesting stuff happening. This is going short because step is a div, and we only styled the list item, right? So we can do that really fast by going 100% for the height, which makes it stretch out. We are good to go. Unfortunately, we have this very soft gradient. That's not what we want. We want it to start right about halfway through, not about, we want it to start exactly in the middle of the circle, which would be 3 rem, just like this. And then we want it to be a hard line, so we could also do 3 rem here. But the easier way would be to do 0. And the reason for that is because now we only ever have to change one number. We don't have to change both. We just change one number, and it's always a nice, beautiful, hard line, okay? We don't have that outline. We can take care of that. That is down on before. So way down here, we add another border, just like this. Our border is the same as our gap. So bar dash dash gap. And you might not see it, but it's moving in, not out, okay? You might be able to see that easier if I make this HSLA 0%, 0%, 0.2. I don't know why I added a space, but there it is. So it is gray and not this sepia, which is because the border is overlapping on the background color. Pretty standard, especially since we have, where is it? It is right here, border box, which ensures that all of our measurements are inside of the width of the object. Not really what we want, right? And we still want that background color to show through. So maybe linear gradient isn't what we want. Maybe we want something like radial gradient. Now this is weird. It will break for a second because it doesn't know what to bottom means. But radial gradient expects you to tell it what style of gradient it's looking for. It can be a circle, it can be an ellipses, it can be a few other things as well. In this case, we're going to go with a circle. And as soon as we do that, we get that really nice, sharp circle. It's not in the right place, but it is starting. You'll notice that the middle of the circle is the middle of the card. That's important because the gradient has to be generated from somewhere. It has to be generated from the center, okay? So if we move it to at top, it'll also place that circle halfway onto the top. It becomes a semicircle. And that's because it's generating from the middle of that gradient, the middle of that circle, okay? So we can go and move that using something like background position. The first one is left and right. The second one is top and bottom. So if we set this to 3 rem, it will drop down. You can't really see it. There might be a slight hint here where it's fringing, depending on your monitor, but maybe if we make this a little bit bigger, there's our semicircle. And there's a hard line because, well, this is a background and this is a background. It is repeating by default because that's what images do, right? So background repeat, no repeat, turning it off, and then moving it back up, and it fits that cutout perfectly. Now, this isn't exactly what we want, so let's go and clean this up for a second because magic numbers are magic and we don't like them. So we're going to go and add a calc here, and this calc is going to be whatever the counter size is, and we're going to divide by 2, which is exactly the same thing that we had. We can grab this, bring it up here, get rid of this magic number as well. But for this one, we want to do something else. So inside of here, we want to add our gap, dash dash gap. And now we have that nice cutout slice. Lines up really nice with our gaps, and we can get rid of that border. Where is it? Here it is. Should be down on step, but commenting it out, doesn't matter. We can also get rid of the border on the counter. We no longer need that. We can just delete that one completely. And everything is looking really good. In fact, we can go ahead and turn on our color, and most of it is there, right? Most of what we need is already here. So we just need to add the rounding on the corners and we're done. And then play around with the color, of course. We'll get to that. So for the rounding of the corners, we can do that right on top of the step. So another border plus. Nope, sorry, not border, but border radius. And I think I have a variable for this. What is it? It is card border radius. Thank you very much. Copy and paste right up here. And done, sort of. What happened to the top? Well, the top, remember that this isn't the top of the element. This is the top of the element. So if I go and add a background color of, does white work? Yes, it does, but I'll make it something else like hot pink, just so that we can see it. It goes right and touches the top of the circle, and here is our rounded corner. So we need a way to get that rounded corner down here. And the way to do that is to not throw away all of our work, because we've done some good stuff here, but we do need to move some stuff around in the CSS. So we could use a new element. If we go down here, we could add dot step after, and we could add something like this, something that we can make as the background. Now, there are several ways to do this. We could use something like absolute positioning. I'm going to use grid, okay? And the reason that I'm going to use grid is because I like the flow of it a little bit better, and I find that removing things from the natural document order, the natural flow of the document using position absolute, it hurts my feelings. So grid it is. Here we go. We actually have a grid with 3 rows. There's this currently pink row, then there's the bottom half of the circle, and then there's the third one with the content. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, and the circle is going to sit in the first 2, the gray box is going to sit in the second 2, and the text is going to sit in the last third, and they're all going to overlap on top of each other. Okay, we do that up in step. So right up here, right below height, we're going to display grid, and grid template rows of 3. Now things are going to bounce around. In fact, we can go and turn some of this off right here just for a few seconds, because we need to be able to see what's going on. I'm going to grab this with my handy dev tools and turn on grid. And then if we go back, you can see that all 3 of these rows are even. That is absolutely not what we wanted. We want this to take up only the height of the circle, the first 2 to take up the height of the circle, and the last one to be auto. Well, we can do that by changing this to 2 of these and the rest to be auto. And now things are a little bit better. There's an auto in here, which is good. That says 3 underneath the 4. I don't know why 4 is overlapping on 3, but we'll work with it. We'll work with it. Now we need to position our things, okay? So we go down to before, and I'm just going to put it right here. So grid area, not A. A is what the text expansion does. but it's going to be 1/1/1/1/1, which is also not right, but gets us started. So what this is saying is go from 1 to 1 and stay in 1 and 1, okay? So the first one is top to bottom. The second one is left to right. So we have rise over run if you're doing that mathematically. Here we want this to span 2. We can use some coolness about grid, just like that. You'll notice that this doesn't line up. We will get to that in 2 seconds. Let's finish the grid placement first. So I'm going to grab this, bring it up to the span. The span is not going to be 1, 1, 1. It is actually going to be number 3, right? 1, 2, 3. That's where we want it. Whoops, not 13, not 43. Come on, there we go. And it's only going to span 1. Okay? So we're close now. We're getting close. We will take care of the gray box in a few seconds, but for now, let's go take care of this. The problem with this is that we have auto, and auto basically collapses to its largest dimension, right? We have that border or that padding, sorry. And so it's doing the same thing, and then whatever is left, it's splitting equally between the first row and the second row. So these are dropping down because there's only one line in here. We can fix that with something we've already done, actually. We have this counter size divided by 2. We can just go and grab it, paste it right in here, and now everything is locked in. While we're here, we'll also center the text. So right here we have place self. Place self works. We're going to center, and that way it is in the center. How come it doesn't look in the center? That's weird. We'll take a look at that in a second. That's very curious to me. But yes, place center just like that, and we can move on. Now we need that grid box right in here, okay? And that grid box happens in after. So again, we're going to set the grid area, and it's going to be, whoops, do it right, slashes, nice and fast. But it's not going to be in the top box. It's going to be number 2, spanning 2. So all the way back over here, number 2, span 2. We can't see it because we don't have a color. Let's go and get the background color. Sorry, in fact, let's not just do that. Oh, there it is. We can copy and paste all of this, or just cut it out, paste it right down here, because we're going to use it just as is. Excellent. So hot pink goes away. We can get rid of that. And this needs to go up. That's because of position. We can get rid of that. And all of a sudden we have everything that we need. Now, the text is behind the box, and that's because the box is an after, okay? Anything that comes after goes on top when you're stacking things. So what we can do is up here, we can set this z index to 2. And over here, we can set this z index to 2. And then turn it all back on for a very nice card setup, okay? Go and turn off my grid so we can see it without that. There we are. So to finish, we need this tomato colored box, tomato, whatever you want to call it. And we put that on the second step. We could also put it on the list, but let's put it on the second step. So right here, not var, we have style. And because we're using those custom properties, we can just go and redeclare card color as tomato. Without, why do I keep typing that R? That's so weird. There it is. And that should update. Why isn't it updating? What am I missing? Dun, 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 something. Yes, of course. I shouldn't have used a colon. I should have used an equal sign. There it is. Now, a little bit of final cleanup. So everything is working except for our responsiveness. Our responsiveness, we can use some media queries, or in my case, I'm just going to go with the Holy Albatross by Hayden Pickering. So right in here on this flex basis, I'm going to set it up as calc. And what we do is we subtract our breakpoint from 100%. So 35 rem minus 100%. This is going to give us a positive or negative number, and we want that to be super, super big. So we just multiply it by 999, which ensures that everything wraps as intended. Maybe not 35, maybe 40. And once that goes, it should just pop down to single rows, okay? So, two-part video. In the first video, we looked at counters and all the fun stuff that goes around with that. And then in the second video, we looked at generated content in the form of background image, okay? And some fun stuff that goes with that. We also mixed in some grid, some flex for responsiveness, and just made the whole thing really nice. If you wanted to add to this, you could add some extra variables for things like text color, for when you have that really bad contrast, right? And other things. Give it a try. Let me know what you create. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.